Why did Critical Role choose Dungeons & Dragons over Daggerheart for Campaign 4? Were they paid by Wizards of the Coast? And just how scripted is Critical Role? This week, Matt Mercer and Travis Willingham of Critical Role sit down for a no-holds-barred interview where I ask them these questions and more. Strap in for Dungeon Craft. Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor DM, and this channel is about all things tabletop role-playing games.
And I'm Deathbringer. Like, subscribe, and sign up for the Deathbringer RPG newsletter.
Today, my guests are Matt Mercer and Travis Willingham of Critical Role. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us, buddy.
Thank you, Professor DM.
All right, so I'm going to get right to the big question that's on everybody's mind. We're not going to make anybody wait for it. But you recently made the decision to go with Dungeons & Dragons 2024 as the system for Critical Role Season 4. Did you receive any payment from Wizards of the Coast for choosing D&D? And why would you choose D&D and not Daggerheart?
Amazing. Matt, do you want to take it?
I mean, I'll jump in. Absolutely not. We did not receive any payment to play D&D. We've never received any payment to play D&D from Wizards. For our show, we've done some, a couple of books with them, which has, been a collaboration there. I've done some consulting on a number of their books, and I've done a couple streams for them. And I think those are the only instances in which Wizards has paid us for anything. So
I got paid. They paid me in gummy bears, which I have a very keen gourmet tongue for. Listen, Matt, I had to cut you out of this one. All right, it's just me and my gummy bears.
We'll continue this offline, Travis. I'm very disappointed.
All right. To echo Matt, no, we have never received monies from anyone to play their system outside of specific one shots, and we of course have seen the discourse that is what you expect before such an anticipated thing like Campaign 4, which is great. That's what the internet is for people to speculate and do that sort of stuff. But we've also seen people saying that they've heard from secret sources or from email leaks. None of that's true. We have not talked to Wizards about it. It was something that was in the works far before the end of Campaign 3, and even before the launch of Daggerheart. It's something we've been working on for months and months and months and months and months. So it's something that's been a long time coming down the road, and we don't take money to play certain systems. We just do our thing.
Yeah. And as far as like the second part of the question, there's, Daggerheart just came out. It's still very much a baby in its space. And even we weren't, we were hoping it would do well, but you never know how these things go in the industry. And thankfully it's been received a lot better than even we could have hoped, to the point where we're still trying to keep up with demand, which is a good problem. But we're changing so much with Campaign 4, not everything, but like there's a lot of change happening with it, and there's a benefit to making sure that we don't change everything out of the gate while still letting Daggerheart kind of blossom at its beginning steps, if you will. And we're really excited about all the stuff we have coming up with Daggerheart. We're playing many games around it in the near future. I'm already plotting a lot of things to come. We have many announcements down the road, and it just kind of universally made sense for the early discussions, and we were preparing for this campaign, and the format shifts and everything that we wanted to set for in advance. It made sense to play D&D, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, we were deeply committed to Daggerheart, whether it was well received or not. And I think for us, the focus for Daggerheart is to build a very strong foundation, right? It's been out it's in its first year. We want to continue to build towards the community with content, with the Void, with just rounding out the system, finding new ways to support it. So we're all in on Daggerheart from a publishing perspective and from a game design perspective. That's never changed. But why we went D&D 2024 over Daggerheart, that wasn't even the question. I think when we decided that was what we were going to do, when we were speaking with Brennan and doing all those other things, and it's also two separate considerations. I think it makes perfect sense for people that watch the various businesses to say like, oh, you're making the game, you should definitely play that on your show, and we will. There's lots of programming that's going to be committed to that. But also we're having a conversation where we're bringing in new cast, West Marches, various tables, Brennan Lee Mulligan, new DM, and so all of those things were something that was in motion long before that even happened. And who knows what the future will hold? We always keep all of the pieces available to us and on the table in front of us. But yeah, that's just a little bit of context out there. Maybe that'll help some people that are guessing with their red string on the conspiracy board.
Deathbringer here, ready to toss your dice and your morals into the abyss. Then back the Roll for Combat Kickstarter, weaklings. It's packed with hundreds of savage, blood-soaked options to obliterate your enemy. And better yet, you'll get to use them in my game, the Deathbringer RPG. Coming next year, the Deathbringer RPG isn't some soft, cuddlecore fantasy nonsense. It's fast, mean, and completely unforgiving. In Deathbringer, you don't save the world. You stab it in the heart, loot the corpse, and set it on fire for good measure. Every backer of the Roll for Combat Secret Tomes for Shadowdark Kickstarter will get an exclusive sneak peek at the glorious carnage of Deathbringer and a chance to play in the beta test later this year. So sharpen your blade, settle your soul, and back it now. Ignore me and I'll use your spine as a bookmark. Back now.
How much of a say did Brennan have with picking the system? And how much of that was a consideration?
I think it was a great consideration. Brennan has been playing this since he was, what age was it, Matt? 11, 13, 14, something
Very
like that?
Very young.
Very,
Younger than I
very
was
young.
when I started playing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 30ish years playing this thing. It's reflexive to him. And when we were talking about it, I asked just from a position of naivete. I was like, can D&D even support a West Marches multi-table style approach? And he was very confident, and that's something that we rely on. As creatives, and as producers of this show. You want to support the creatives that you're putting in the position to really deliver the story, right? And for a system that is as reflexive as it is for him, something that's second nature, something that he can also help, suggest routes of play or things to his players, and it also allows him to be free and improv and have that sort of movement. That was a huge positive for us, and I think for him in exploring this world of Ahriman now.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say, like, from a outside perspective, it makes the most sense for the optimization of their business. So why wouldn't they play Daggerheart in this to make that much more money? But the whole point of facilitating campaign 4 is what best facilitates the creative vision in this moment for everyone involved. And with all the moving pieces that were happening for Brennan's comfort in the moments that we were making these decisions, before, all these recent months have shown a lot of wonderful and embracing of Daggerheart and such. It was more or less just all decided this made the most sense given how we were building things and what he was most comfortable with. But to Travis's point, we'll see what the future holds.
And speaking of Brennan, one of the other rumors is that WotC paid him a Brinks truck of money, but the truth is, you pay him, right?
Yes. We pay him. We pay him. Unless he's double dipping under the table, we need to get him in here because maybe he's the one with the gummy bears. No, we pay Brennan. We're able to work with him on this and really all of his previous stuff with EXU. It's a full collaboration, but it's just Critical Role that is paying Brennan, unless the gray aliens have suddenly made their way into the TTRPG scene and are infiltrating.
Don't scare me, Travis.
This work. Why not? You're always scaring me. I have to use whatever I can to even the score.
That's valid. I'll give that to you.
Daggerheart has a huge community on Reddit, and it's got a lot of enthusiasm for designers and content creators. What's your message for them? And how do you see the game scaling over the years?
Oh boy.
Great question.
Yeah. I mean, out of the gate, there's so much I want to tell you that I can't yet, but like we're constantly pushing forward in uh, one, showing how much more can be built around this, how we can continue to open things to the community and to third-party publishing. You know, we're learning a lot through this process too. You know, we've never published something on this scale, let alone, you know, with this sort of like massive community support. So, you know, there's been a lot of things that we're continuously learning from and adapting, and on internally discussing how excitedly we can continue to present those opportunities for people to make it their own. So yeah, it's really heartening to see what everyone's already running with. That was very much the hope with this. You know, a lot of the system was designed to be very easy to crack open and run with. And we're continuously building tools to help kind of guide the community and how to take that baton and really kind of just sprint as far as they want to. But we definitely have some announcements coming up through the year that kind of lean into this question. Travis, if you have anything you wanted to add.
I mean, I was just going to echo what you were going to say. I think we are the most fascinated and enticed by the idea of other people playing Daggerheart besides just us, right? We want to see how other people play the game. What do they bring to it? What are the things they uncover in their DM style or in their character creation or as PCs? Obviously, it's been amazing having some of the creator conversations that we've had. We had announcements at Gen Con around Keith Baker, and obviously with Chris and Jeremy in the mix, it's unveiling a whole world of possibilities in terms of both in-house products, licensed products, and we really want to make the waters as welcoming as we can for people that are interested in making Daggerheart content. That's what's really important to us. But as Matt said, you know, we're doing a lot of this stuff, like most things at Critical Role, for the very first time. We do it in a very measured, very, we think, smart, slow way. And you know, hopefully, we're creating products and ideating on things that make it as approachable and as attractive as possible for other creators. So we are always also taking in feedback and seeing what the reactions are and interested in what the community is talking about. So I mean, we're as all in as it gets on Daggerheart, and we hope to just build on that.
All right, moving on. How scripted is Critical Role? And if it's entirely improvisational, why does the show have writers, and what do they do?
What do they do? I love my writers. They've given me some amazing lines, and I also fault them for all of my flubs and terrible improv choices. That's 10 years. The writer turnover is vicious.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you know, I think I've said it in interviews before, but like every time I see that discourse, it is the greatest compliment I think, you know, I could receive.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, I'm like, I don't take offense to it. If anything, I hope they find a better table, you know, because like most people don't remember the moments where things don't work out or when things kind of fall flat or when roles don't facilitate the story, you know. But they only see the moments where things work out perfectly, which happens at every table. And when there, you know, a good series of players are there, many people have moments as epic, if not more epic than what we have at ours. So at the very least, when people see what we're doing at our table, without the consideration that we're also professional performers who have lived in our imagination as actors for, you know, decades for the majority of us, you know,
or centuries if you're Taliesin.
Yeah, well, I wasn't gonna try and put them on blast. Yeah, like it's not scripted. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, no more than
And just to address it, we do have producers at the studio, and they do write copy for, you know, ad bits when they're helping Sam with his insanity. They definitely help us with sponsorship copy. You know, we have lots of advertising and sponsorship partners, so we're constantly making sure that sounds not like a robot wrote it. You know, there's a lot of copywriting that happens, but in-world writing, we don't know anything about what Matt is going to do unless Matt tells one of the producers in terms of like a map setup or where things could potentially go. But I don't even know if you do that. You're so weird about making 6 maps that sit in that locked closet that sometimes we go weeks without seeing any of them, and then they're gone, and we're like, we didn't see any of them, and that makes me crazy as the video gamer that likes to explore every edge of the map.
Yeah, well, that's part of the mean, kind of the tough swallowing that a DM has to do for a lot of games is to put a lot of effort into building some of these maps and go
Man.
like, ah, you never saw the light of day. But like that, that also comes with the acceptance of a modular story. Um, yeah, believe me, it'd be so much easier if I had writers. I would have a lot more free
Dan,
time. It'd
Dan,
be a
it's been
lot.
the same for 12 years. He would show up to our home game with, do you still have the bag of holding bag that's like held together with duct tape and
Oh
paper
yeah,
clips and
yeah.
stuff?
It's that's in the other room, but
He'd
it's
show up with this bag and he would like almost like an architect. There would be these rolls of maps, like 10 different maps. And I was like, what is all that? And he's like, they're battle maps, they're potential encounters. Because for the session, he had planned 10 different things for us to potentially do. And we would see two of them, three of them, maybe four. And it never changed, even with all of the amazing little toys that you have on the map building side. There is literally this armored oak. I don't know if it's oak. It's oak closet that has a door that locks with shelves like a baker's levels, and he can just pull something out and slide it out. And I've peeked in there before. Sometimes we don't see any of that stuff, but it was a fast thing. Okay, I'm the CEO. I can peek. There's no light in there. There's no I you're not the DM anymore. You can't punish me.
maybe not for this campaign, Travis.
We have live shows.
Matt, you
Oh,
really,
no.
we were talking before the show. You really seem to enjoy making maps. Is that how you kind of conceptually start? Like, is that your starting point?
Not really. I mean, I have like ideas for general environments when because I also have to build all of the stat blocks. If I'm not pulling things that exist in the game, I'm building all the stat blocks for creatures that are unique to the encounter or story related and stuff like that. And it's usually when I start considering what possible encounters might happen in my DM prep that I start conceptualizing where that could happen in an environment. But for me, I'll have a few bullet points in my notes that I'll take with me to my map room. Like I usually arrive a couple hours before we start filming, or at least before the rest of the cast arrive. And then I just lock myself in my map room. I have a bunch of different sizes of, like 2 foot by 2 foot or 3 foot by 2 foot, these little like boards that I build the maps on so I can bring them around the studio and keep them on the side when I'm ready to pull them. And I'll just build. I'll use my bullet points and ideas from when I was prepping for the session, and then I'll start. I build like jazz, if that makes sense. Like I have a concept, and then I'll just start assembling things, and then I'll look at what I have so far, and then I'll move a few things, and if something doesn't work, I'll replace it with something else until it starts kind of taking shape. It's very much like kind of carving away at a block of marble, except it's all like Dwarven Forge plastic and plastic train I got from a Michael's Art Mart. Um, and then eventually, like once the groove hits, it's like, what can I add to visually make it pop? What cool things can I add to the environment that the players will inevitably ignore and just hit anyway? uh no, that's not true. You guys do some
Mostly true. Mostly true.
you guys do some fun stuff in the environment, but
Yeah.
yeah, like I have a concept, and then I just kind of let it come to life as I start throwing things on the board. And then as it gets closer to that idea, I get excitedly, more driven and focused on what it becomes as it goes on. But I genuinely really love that process. It's like miniature painting. It's a very like constructive Zen thing. I refer to it as my adult Legos. Not that Legos aren't for adults, obviously, since we're all paying hundreds of dollars for these awesome sets they keep putting out. But yeah, I love maps.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I have a book of maps like my Game Master notebook looks like this.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and when I do them, I hope my principal doesn't watch this. I do this in staff development mostly. like like when like when I'm in the back like taking notes and stuff, that's kind of what I'm doing. It's Zen like, it's therapeutic, like miniature painting for me.
Mm,
And I just do it with the pens. Um
awesome. I love
so
the isometric view too. That's
I
rad.
know, and the angle on it and filling in the quarters around it as well. Get that
yeah,
in
it's
frame.
yeah, you got to do it for a while and then you get in that mindset.
Mhm.
But so when something happens like a character death, which spoiler alert, I'm gonna have a spoiler alert. I think fresh cut grass dies.
Mhm.
That you didn't know that was going to happen before that session. That's just the way the
No.
dice shook out.
Yeah, well, dice and player choice. Like that was also a Sam choice. I think part of his choice may have been guided because he knew he was going to have treatment soon, and I'd already talked to him about how I was going to take FCG out of the story for a bit. Like we're going to have this whole scenario in either that episode or the next episode where he was going to like shut down because of the chaos that was happening. Like he would short circuit more or less, and that way we could have FCG out of the narrative, but he can return whenever he was recovered and ready. And this fight with Otohan was meant to be a very, very brutal fight. This is a character that's been built up as this kind of terrifying hunter assassin figure, and this was their, more or less being chased down by her. And I told them even before, the fight and at the break and before the thing, I'm like, remember, not all fights are meant to be won. Not saying you can't win them, but you're also able to flee. But my players sometimes are obstinate, and 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 the dice don't always work in that favor. And I mean, and to be honest, Otohan didn't have all that many hit points left anyway, so they probably maybe he didn't maybe he didn't. I'm not gonna say he didn't have to sacrifice. It made for a great narrative beat, but like with a couple of player rounds, they still probably could have ended it without that sacrifice. But at the same time, what an incredible moment for the
Yes.
story, for Sam to know that where he was going in real life and take that opportunity to instead make it this heroic sacrifice that surprised, I mean, the players definitely, but surprised me because we had a whole different plan set for his temporary exit. And then the panic thereafter of like, well, shit, now we have to make you a new character. We have to get new character art. Like, how are we gonna, make this while you're also going through treatment? So yeah, it was not planned, and it threw, the best of wrench in a lot of things. But also, that's what makes these games so fun, and to a degree, why anyone engages with actual play. If this was all scripted, why not just watch TV? But what makes it special is one, it's just friends at a table, the playing, taking it seriously, but also the right amounts of slapdickery, and the fact that really nobody at the table, when it's done right, knows what's happening next. Try and plan as much as you can as a dungeon master. You generally can't really control what happens next outside of the dice and your players being players. And I that's what I love out of it. I wouldn't enjoy it if it was scripted. It loses the
Otohan
spark.
was a Otohan was a TPK machine. Like once that train got rolling, it was so hard to stop it. And I remember I didn't know any of that. That of course that's purely a Matt and Sam conversation and now a rest of the world conversation. But in that moment, we were all in trouble, and you could see what Sam was doing, but you can see it on all of our faces that we also know what he's going through. And I feel like as a producing partner on the animated series, I could see his writer's mind going like, this is a perfect opportunity to do something heroic, amazing, and also serve as a purpose so he can finish these treatments. And all you can do in that moment is just sit down and shut up, right? And give reverence to the moment, which is what we did, right? Emotionally so. But that was just such an incredible beat. And the thing I am perpetually impressed by is whether it's FCG or spoiler, several years now, spoiler, Molly's death. You can see Matt, you can see your natural, I don't want to say hesitance, but there's like, you want to see the players figure out a way out of it or a ability to flee or whatever it is, but you're also like sticking to the story and what makes sense. And you are the arbiter, like the deliverer of that moment. And you being able to just cultivate and guide it into a story beat is crazy. I mean, Laura and I were sitting at home with our brand new newborn, and we were shouting at our television because it was the first game that we missed, and he was gone, and it was wild to watch. So props to you, Matt.
Along those lines, I have a question for you, Travis. From the player perspective, how much leeway does Matt give you when it comes to designing a character? Does he ever say, "Nah, that's not going to work," or what is the process for creating a character?
Professor DM, I thought you were going to ask me, what is it like to be the best D&D player of all time? And to say it's a heavy crap now. Matt is fantastic. I think most of us have tried to find where the edges of his imagination and or allowance are. That's just never going to happen. Even in making Ford, I was trying to make a concoction of several different ideas, and I think at some point Matt will come with the solid guidance of you need to pick some of these things and not all of them, because then it's sort of a mishmash of too many things. Like really lean into one or the other, and he helps make choices. But I for one, made a 400-year-old gnome who, in a previous dimension, tried to assassinate Santa Claus, and that was my character for campaign 3. And I was like, and could he also be a werewolf? And all I see is eagerness out of Matt. And it's not just the acceptance of whatever the idea is, it's always following up with other things to consider. Have you thought about a class? Here's the claret order. We could do these sort of things to play on the toy making aspect of it all. He's just a great collaborator. He's really, really, Matt and Sam both have some of the highest RPM creative engines I've ever seen. Like they're just always down to think and ideate and spitball on stuff. And so that's the most fun thing to sit down with as a player, is for me having like, I have a small idea and come out of it 30 minutes later and it's something that's amazing.
Click like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Thank you.
How does Matt prep for a campaign? Like, do you know how many episodes is going to be at the start, and do you have a conclusion in the mind, in your mind, or do the players determine that?
I have no idea how many episodes it's going to be. For me, it's like, I mean, our very first campaign was only the second campaign I've ever run to completion. Because before that, like many of you out there watching this, I'm sure have experienced in your time, you play for a while and then life mucks up your ability to schedule. People move away, people have families, and then campaigns just kind of fade out. And so like, Vox Machina was only the second campaign I ever played to completion. The first before that was, I think, Expedition Ravenloft in 3.5.
Nice.
And which was, that's a whole nother story. But it was, even then, like three years into playing it and coming to an end, it was like, that was awesome. I have no idea what that concept would be, because we even came in media res as Vox Machina. And now starting over from the very beginning, how many episodes that would be, no idea. Now it seems like, after campaign 3, it's like 3 years seems to be the natural period, but even then, that we don't know where that sits in that window. If a story, I don't want to extend a story just for the sake of trying to meet a window when it feels like it naturally has come to an end. Nor do I feel the need to tie up every single loose end for a narrative to its completion, because life doesn't work that way. And sometimes the loose ends and the unanswered questions are a fun thing for not just us players to ponder and consider, but also for our community. So yeah, it's not driven by schedule at all, much to the chagrin of our production team and probably a lot of other people in our company. They kind of have to. And a shout out to all of our wonderful people we work with at Critical Role that have to deal with the perpetually unanswered questions from me and the team being like, we don't know, because the nature of what we do is
as artists.
Yeah. It's probably very frustrating for a lot of people. I know for some it is, but that's just the nature of how it goes. And as far as like big story beats, I have ideas, because I think it would be folly not to. It allows me the ability to foreshadow some things loosely, at least themes, and to drop a few fun bits of lore that could be a fun reveal down the road. But I generally let the players drive the story. If they continue to follow those threads, then that certainly makes it useful, and I know how to further expand upon those facets of the story and bring them into it. But also, sometimes they just go in weird directions, and then I build story off of that. So I had a lot of narrative threads in previous campaigns that I thought might be a fun thing to pursue, and then we just never got back to it. There are other things that the more they began to pull on, the thread of the sweater, if you will, the more excited they were, and the more I was like, okay, this is going to be a more prominent part of the story now, and I'll flesh this out further. Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of other people run games. It's how I learned just playing on my own since high school and reading forums back in the early 2000s. So,
and as from a player perspective, it really is what makes it unique. Certainly, in making the animated series and coming back and having to adapt all of this stuff, it is a challenge, because we are just going all over the place at any given time. There's no set episode number for story arcs. We will start, stop, start, stop. I mean, I think in the Mighty Nine, Caleb met up with Trent 2 or 3 different times before the final climactic thing. We even had dinner in his house where we were sure the throwdown was going to happen, and we didn't. We left there without exchanging a single blow. And similarly, watching Caleb hand over the beacon to the Bright Queen after this long, arduous purple worm tunnel expedition. That I think that's the only time still to this day. Matt, tell me if I missed it, where I saw your face go like, I need a minute to figure out what comes next, because that was not what I was expecting to have happen, and it changes everything.
That it's happened a few times, but that was one of the times where I was really bad at my poker face, and it really and also it drastically changed it. Because it's one thing to be like, we went through the right door as opposed to the left door. This was like, how about we just completely ignore everything that you've built and planned over the next not just few sessions, but the next big story arc, and we're just going to go to the other nation, and then we're going
Yep.
to do the thing that you never expected. Like
We're gonna give away our biggest bargaining chip. That's
yeah.
what we're gonna do.
I was working with Matt Koval at the time on building out this whole faction within the Dwendalian Empire that he might have come down and guest with to represent
That's
that.
right.
And then you guys just went, nah, fuck the Empire. We're gonna go we're gonna go to the Kryn Dynasty and not go back for 50 episodes. And I was like, sorry, Matt.
Yeah, we don't
So-
know. We don't know. Our the as Matt mentioned, there are facets of our business that would benefit from a longer runway on a lot of those things, just a roadmap and where we might find ourselves and how does that affect outside partners. And we don't know. They learned that it takes a great deal of flexibility and grace, because we're figuring it out as we go.
Another behind the scenes question. How does Matt prep for a session? And you already mentioned you draw out the maps yourself. So you really like maps, but do you prep the stat blocks? Do you have helper elves do that? And then what I want to know is how many sessions are you ahead?
Good question. So I I have helper elves for painting stuff now because I do not have all the free time to paint any like bespoke miniatures or terrain that we get for things. I still
But you
paint
did
some
for
of it.
years. Yeah.
I did, but there's too many things going on these days, and I still occasionally have to drop in and play a video game for 2 hours before I go to sleep, or I'm gonna lose my mind. Um, so I have people helping with painting, but I design all my stat blocks. I prep all my sessions. I do all my writing myself. Once again, it'd probably be a lot more efficient and probably better for my mental health if I had more help. But this is how I've always done things, and I don't really know how else to do it. Um, Maybe it's a control thing. I don't know. I don't think Dungeon Masters have anything about control. Uh, but uh, but yeah, for me, I usually have one massive lore doc where I throw down a lot of my ideas around a story. Like I'll put down like, the moving factions and what their goals are in the world around the players. I'll put down what challenges they might encounter and what their plans are and what their end game is, kind of at like the outset of a campaign, and then expand on that as I get ideas. I'm prepping where the players do things that kind of inspire me to evolve and expand those elements. That's just like a reference doc for me where I just throw ideas in there. And a lot of those end up never used or end up changing dramatically based on player interactions, and I like cross them out or just ignore them. So I use that document. I usually have it up on the left hand side of my screen just for reference. And then I'm only one session prepped each time because I don't know what they're going to do during the session. So what I usually start with is I bring up the previous session prep doc, which has, you know, I'm still printing out paper. People use laptops now, which I guess is much more efficient and useful for searching. But I like to print my documents out and tape them to my Dungeon Master screen like an old man. Um, and yeah, I just have the current session prepped, and then when we finish the session, I'll get home and I'll anything that is burning in my head after the session, I'll write a quick couple notes down in a fresh Word doc. Then leading up to the next session, I'll then prep the next session based on where we ended, where the players seem to be wanting to go, and then I'll just take it from there. So I'm really only prepping one session in advance each week, which is inefficient from a narrative business standpoint, I guess. But it's just how I've always done it. So
Travis, how do you prep to play the game? How do you prepare yourself?
Well, let me tell you, Professor DM, it is a arduous and complicated process that many might not understand. It's almost like speaking a dead language. I write my notes in hieroglyph. I have a codex that helps me interpret those notes so that maximum security can be maintained. Don't prep. I don't prep. That's a lie. I prepped one time. There was during the Kevdak encounter with our first campaign as Vox Machina, I knew that we were going to confront Kevdak, and like a true D&D insane person, I would walk around my house, in my bathroom, in the bedroom, driving my car, and I would like practice things that I wanted to say to Kevdak if we would meet, but
I didn't
in
know
the
this.
Grog Strongjaw voice. But listen, Kevdak, you think you're so fancy, and I mean, like the face has to be going too. So there were plenty of times that I think my wife worried about me. Other motorists might have worried about me because I was so nervous about what I was going to say to this person that was from Grog's backstory, but I hadn't seen Matt's interpretation yet. I had no idea what he was going to do, and I didn't want to just try and rely on whatever happened in the moment, which is typically how it is. And outside of that, it changes from campaign to campaign. Campaign one, I had really never played TTRPGs before, and so I didn't try to read ahead. I didn't try to study up on what some people thought might be like the best use of a barbarian build, or feats or balancing or min maxing or any of that sort of stuff. The second campaign, Matt's world was so big that I started to really try and read everything that was outside of where we were, just to understand Exandria a little bit more, because I had a character that had intelligence for the first time. And I found that to be so rewarding, and also fueled the nuclear pit in my stomach that wanted to like go explore more, which is what we got to do. And then in campaign three, I bought so many wooden toys to hand out to people. I have a whole box full of Chetney toys, and now eggs. I have so many eggs that are just sitting there. I don't know if they'll ever get handed out. But really, the gifting at the table was what I was there for, Professor. That's really my purpose for Camp 3. Campaign 4, everybody will just have to wait and see.
I will jump on there real fast and say there is a text thread that the players have that I'm not on.
That's true.
That they'll use to strategize before sessions where like a possible big encounter or a boss throwdown is going to happen. And
that is very true.
I hear you all, like I'll walk out of my map room while you guys are having lunch, and you'll be like in this heated conversation, and you all get quiet and look at me like you're just caught, doing something you weren't supposed to.
It is a little bit like the DEF CON 1 room from the 1970s under some bunker in Colorado. Like it really is something that every year or so we'll be like, do we need to activate? It's almost like the red bat phone. Do we need to activate the text thread? Yes. We'll change the name of it. Liam will go in there and throw in 35 ideas. Ashley will ask what this is all about. Like we just get it going. And that's really to help, I think, save all that discourse at the table. But it's actually led to some pretty good ideas that very quickly fall to shit as soon as we start playing. But it's good to get it all out there and see what it sparks. But you're right. I should not forget the DEF CON 1 text thread.
When can we see campaign 4 of a Critical Role? When does it go on?
That goes up October 2nd.
We are so close.
It's so close. Yeah. October 2nd, 7 p.m. Pacific. Man, y'all, it's gonna be wild. It's gonna, it's a lot of new things about it, but it still feels like classical, just unique. I'm excited for you to see what everyone's playing. I'm excited to see what Ahriman is, this world that Brennan's we've let him go full Tolkien on it, and it's something he's wanted to do for a long time, and it's expansive and lush and brilliant, and I get to play, and I wish I could say more about my character, but I will be able to soon.
Yeah, it is. Going to be absolutely wild. I can say that just as a player, I felt the same sort of fear I had as Grog Strongjaw back in campaign one, where I didn't know anything, and so I wanted to. Yeah, I felt like I didn't have any knowledge of the world, but then again, neither did any of the other players. And starting at zero every decade or so is kind of a refreshing thing. And we hope it's also something that the audience will enjoy, because if you just watched Bell's Hells, or if you've been around since campaign two, or if you've been with us for the whole ride and you know everything there is to know about Exandria, Exandria is not going anywhere. We're going to be doing live shows. Obviously, Mighty Nine comes out in November, season 4, season 5 of Vox Machina. We're going to be in Exandria until we are old and gray, and then probably then some after that. But to be able to touch the soil of a new world altogether, with all of our different suspicions and speculations and the nerves that go along with that, and then just sort of sit back and watch the show as it starts from square one, is a rare thing in the Critical Role world and cycle, if such a thing exists. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch Brennan jump in with both feet and just embrace it. And I think folks are going to be blown away.
You're talking about a little bit about the writer's mind. So what I've always said to my patrons is, if you play Dungeons and Dragons with a bunch of lawyers, you're probably going to get a bunch of rules lawyers. Like, that's probably the way it's going to go down. If you play Dungeons and Dragons with engineers, you're going to get people that want to min-max the game and maximize all the potential of their characters and their synergies. You put a bunch of improvisational actors, or voice actors, in a room, what you're going to get are people who know story. Like, they've obviously taken acting classes, but also you probably read Aristotle's Poetics, Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces, and maybe you took screenplay writing courses, so you read Screenplay by Sid Field. So there's this instinctive, like, how to create a story. So your minds would naturally be building in that direction. Am I off base, or is that correct?
No, I think it's absolutely correct. You know, I think with more experience, especially with the realm of actual play, where people have the opportunity to see different styles of gameplay, whereas previously, before that on the internet, it was only through conversations on forums and community spaces. People can learn to blend and adopt and be inspired by other different play styles to that degree. But yeah, in any sort of gameplay, the people at the table, their life experience, their training, their passions, all those are going to inform how they, initially come at the game and then begin to build that at the table. And us being a bunch of actors, means that we all still love the game. We all still like playing with the systems and building the characters and all the different facets of it too. But we come at this as story first instinctually, wanting to support each other in the story that each person's excited to tell in the moment, to see where it goes. Like that is our driving inspiration, to your point, just because of where we've lived our adult lives for the most part.
Yeah, the I always call it the theater of mind pictures for me. The very first game we ever played, my very first taste of a D&D table was in Matt Marish's apartment. And the hook for me, I've talked about it before, was when Matt asked me to get up from the table, come around the corner into this other room so that we could play out this interaction with a gentleman in a red cloak and the character that I was playing. And he was like, "What do you do?" I was like, what are my choices? He was like, "What do you want to do?" And my instinct was to grab the guy by the throat and pick him up. And as I said it, Matt in the room goes, I was like, "This is amazing." And that was it, right? And the narrative and visual storytelling, at least for me as an actor, someone that comes from that basis of story, is how I approach the character. And then with time, I could see things outside of a barbarian build, which can be amazing. But the Hexblade Warlock has melee, magic, it has area of effect damage. I could see people putting together brilliant combinations of bonus action into action, use of a feat, the economy of that. And you can see there's a whole separate level of brilliance into people that are at a high caliber there. Watching Liam play Orm in campaign 3 as as a fighter was my first introduction into how incredible fighters can be. And so you see all the different facets that are available in D&D, but for us, it's you can also get the different tastes and colors that come from each actor. For me, I come from a comedy basis. I think the same is true for Sam. Liam is steeped in drama. Taliesin comes up with some of the most amazing purple prose on the fly that you've ever heard. Laura can drop into the drama and emotion of a character like I've never seen. And all of those little colors form Captain Planet. And that's something that, we've just been very lucky to have at the same table from this whole time. But you're right. I think everybody's strengths come through in a game that has a little bit of something for everybody, and then shows you the rest as you go along.
I am very psyched, and I'm very grateful for you, Travis and Matt, stopping by. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us, buddy.
Our pleasure. Let's do it again sometime soon. Gummy bears. So, gummy bears.
And for everybody out there, on my Patreon, there's going to be one more question. There'll be a link for Patreon down below. There's also a link for my own tabletop role-playing game, Deathbringer. You can sign up for the newsletter. And I will be back soon. Thanks for watching, and may all your rolls be 20s.
Good day. Oh, I like your helmet. Thank you. I admire your axe. Oh, finally a friend who doesn't want to waste time on shopping trips. Beware. The entrance to the Tomb of Horrors is crawling with death traps. Fortunately, I have devised a clever solution.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me join your party.
You, wizard with the nail polish. You go first.
I'll click on these videos for more dungeon craft.